Hi, so in today's video I wanted to go over the Azure Firewall Manager and how you can create secure virtual hubs using this Firewall Manager. Now typically in some of my other videos I've created firewalls inside of a hub virtual network, and using that I was able to build kind of like hub and spoke connections. So my hub virtual network had peering connections to the spokes, and using like UDRs, route tables, I was able to control the traffic, in between those going to the firewall and things like that for transitive routing. But with this method, it makes it a lot more automated. So now you don't have to worry about doing any of the virtual network peering. All that's going to be done through the secured virtual hub. And the way we're going to do that is we already have our virtual networks created here. So I got two virtual networks, dev network, test network, and I've done this all through Terraform here. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a secure virtual hub that will then automate the process of connecting the spoke networks to the secured hub. So to do that, you do want to have your spoke networks created. So you can just go ahead and create some VNets, and then we're going to go in, create the secured virtual hub. Then we're going to connect the hub and spoke virtual networks. Then we're going to route our traffic to the hub. And then from there, we're going to put some servers in there, which I already have in my virtual networks. And then we're going to create a policy and then secure our hub and then test that out. So to get started with that, now we're going to go into the Firewall Manager here. If you're not already in it, you can just search Firewall Manager. And then I'm going to go to Virtual Hubs, and I'm going to create a new secure virtual hub here. So now we're going to add this to my existing resource group. I want to be in the central U.S. region. So it says you can't have more than one hub per virtual WAN per region, but you can add multiple virtual WANs in the region to achieve this. So kind of a little tidbit there. For the name, I'm just going to call it Secure Hub. And for the address space, I'm just going to go 10.2.0.0/16. And then I'm going to go into a new virtual WAN, so we don't have an existing one. And then this new WAN name, we're just going to call it Virtual WAN 01. And then for the SKU type, looks like standards and then that's going to be it for that. And we're going to hit next. And this is going to take us to the Azure Firewall. So it says here, secure virtual hubs must have at least one and can have at most two security providers. You may use security providers to secure different types of connections. You can choose to enable Azure Firewall for this virtual hub and associated policy. You can select none and associated policy later. So we're going to go through and we want standard for the zones. We're just going to put it across all three availability zones, and then default deny policy. Just want to make sure that that's checked, and then we'll do the settings and stuff later. So now this is where you can choose to enable a security partner provider as a security provider for the virtual hub. So for like filtering internet traffic. So these look like some ones that are predetermined here. You might be able to do probably some other ones later on, but we're going to keep that disabled because we don't typically need that. So for what we're going to do in this lab, so we're going to go review and create. So basically, like if you wanted to do some filtering, like sending things out through the internet to like a third-party provider, you could choose something in that realm to, route your traffic through. So now we got that going, we're going to hit create. Now this may take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a pause here while this comes up here. It's going to have to build a virtual hub network, and then obviously all of the other things as far as like the firewall and things like that, which does take some time here. Alright, so that took a little bit of time there. So we got that our secure hub created, a virtual WAN created, virtual hub. So now we're going to go ahead and get these connections created between our spoke and hub networks. So we can go to our resource group, and we want to look for our virtual WAN. So this is like a virtual wide area network. A lot of terms you might see is like SD-WAN, those type of things. So it's just a WAN in the cloud that can kind of manage both on-prem and in the cloud networks. So now that we're in here, we want to go to our virtual network connections. Inside of here, we should see our secure hub that's created. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our virtual networks. As you can see, we don't have any here. So to do that, we're going to go to add a connection. I'm just going to call this hub to spoke 01 to our secure hub. One in our main network resource group. I'm just going to choose the first dev network. Propagate to none. So we want to dynamically propagate routes to a route table. So yeah, we're not going to worry about propagating any routes right now. Associated to the default route table. And these we can just set defaults on those. And we don't have to worry about this. We don't have really any type of network virtual appliances or anything that we're going to be sending traffic to. So, but we can always come back in and customize the routes if we need to. So you're going to create that one there. Then we're going to add another one. So hub to spoke 02, or no, spoke. I don't remember what I named it now. I think it's what I call it. And this is hub spoke 02. That was the second one. Main network test. Default. It's like default for these. And then create. Let's see if our first one got pulled in there. So it's loading, it's probably still creating them. So basically what it's doing is it's adding the peering connection. So okay, it looks like it's dead. So our first one's created here. And our second one, the connection provisioning, is still updating. Okay. So now that we got that set up, we're going to deploy some servers in our virtual networks. Now let's see if I already have some servers created, but let me just double check that they're in there. I'm going to go to our home main network resource group. Okay, yeah. So I got my dev VM, my test VM. I think that's it. So I should be able to remote to these using the outside IP address. Minimize that. No, it didn't save. Alright, let me go back here. So copy that. Paste it in there. Okay, it's not pasting. So 20.0 85.210.108. And then just the dev VM, since it's not on a domain. And then I think I have admin user and the password. So then what we're going to do next is, since I already got my VMs built, if you don't already have yours built, go ahead and just build some VMs and throw them in those spoke networks. So we're going to create some firewall policies, policy to define a collection of rules to direct traffic on the secured virtual hub. So we'll go ahead and create that so that we can get that secured there. So we're going to go back to the firewall manager, and then under Azure firewall policies, we shouldn't have one. So the great thing about the firewall manager is you can kind of have a hierarchy of where the policies are managed, versus kind of just having a firewall in a hub network that you manage, and then in another network you might manage another firewall and its policies. The firewall manager kind of gives you that ability to kind of centralize and manage everything, make it a lot easier. So you can see here we got our virtual networks, virtual hub, and now we're going to add some, and then if you have some security partner providers, they'd be in here. DDoS protection plans, web application firewall policies, and so on and so forth. So we're going to create a firewall policy, and if you were in an actual firewall, you would create like collection groups, like rule collection groups or NAT collection groups, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and add this into our main network resource group, and we're just going to call this policy 01. Region, let's just put this in East US. Policy, parent policy must be in the same region as the child policy. Okay, and then we don't have a parent policy, so that's fine. And then for the policy tier, we're just going to just do standard. And then next for our DNS settings. And we can just use that as, this will not be enabling Azure policy. Yeah, we can just go ahead and skip that. TLS inspection is available only on premium policies. So we're on standard, so we don't have to worry about that. So we can go next there. And then now we basically have our rule collections. So we're going to add a rule collection. And for the rule collection, we're just going to say, we're just going to call it at 01. For the network, we're going to go application, priority. It's going to be, well, actually, you know what we're going to do? Let's do network there. And then we're just going to do 100. So this priority is basically how the rules are processed. So 0 being the first, 65,000 being the highest. So if you want to have some granularity to, maybe you want to put this as 150. That way you can add some additional maybe denies or allows underneath this particular collection here. So we're going to do allow, and then the name, we're just going to just put allow again. The source IP address, it's going to be, I'm going to put an asterisk here, and then for this is, so basically what we're doing with this rule collection is, actually let's name this network 01. So we're basically allowing the VNets across this. So, this is going to be what's going to allow, one server to communicate with a server on the other side of the, communicate between the hub networks. So you got that peering connection, but then you have this firewall policy allowing the communication to talk. So for the protocol, we're just going to do TCP, destination ports 3389 for RDP, destination type IP address, and then we're just going to do, and we'll do asterisk for destination. That way it's just, it'll just allow across the network. We could skinny it down to the VM level. So you have one source and you know where it's going to go. You could do it that way as well. So then we're going to hit add. Then we're going to add another rule collection for destination NAT. So this is going to allow for RDP using the firewall's public IP addresses. So we can go allow DNAT. Let's see. Destination NAT. So basically, what this does is, so if with the servers that are public or private inside your network, there's a need possibly to manage them. There's a need maybe for people to utilize services that are on the outside or that's on the inside but needs internet accessible. Destination NAT basically takes the public IP address that's assigned to it and allows you to kind of do, come in on a specific port to access that on an internal private IP address and port that's open on that server. So that's what we're going to do here. So for this, we're just going to do, 150 again, allow DNAT, and then source type is going to be IP address. The source is going to be any because it's going to be coming from any IP address on the internet. And then protocol TCP. Destination port is going to be 3389. Destination type is going to be IP address. And for this one, let's do, let's see. Actually, if I go into my Terraform and do a Terraform shell, see if I can grab the IP address of one of these. So devvn 10.01.4. 10. Oh wait, I need the firewall IP address. So let me open up another. So let's look at our firewall, see what the IP address to this is. So, oh no, we need the outside. And then the translated IP address is going to be the inside IP of the private IP of that server we were just looking at. So 10.01.4. 10.0.1.4 and the translated port 3389. So we're going to add on that. So that's it there. Now we could do other things like application rule collections, allowing destinations to specific HTTP URLs, things like that. So we can actually create another one here. Oh, actually, I think I might have missed a couple things. So yeah, the IDPS, let me just go back here. That's disabled. Threat intelligence. We got alert only mode. So that's fine. Not going to really worry too much about that. And then tags you can set if you want. We're going to go ahead and hit create there. So now that we got this created, we're going to need to associate this policy here. So now that we got the policy, we're just going to go ahead and associate it with the hub secure virtual network. So it's creating the policy. It's creating a default application rule collection group. So this part hopefully shouldn't take too long. So now we're on the network rule collection group. And now let me go ahead and just go to the firewall manager here. We're going to go to Azure firewall policies, create this here, or select this. Now it's probably still creating it, but okay, it's done. So we can manage associations, associate hubs, and we're going to associate to our secure hub. So now we got to make sure that our traffic gets routed through the secure hub. So now we need to go to the firewall manager, which we're already in, and then go to virtual hubs. And let's see here. Should be, where are you at here? I'm not seeing the, just go back one more. So virtual hubs. Oh, okay, it might be because it's still attaching a policy. So what we're going to need to do is go in and then set this to the under internet traffic. There's going to be, we're going to select our Azure firewall, and then under the private traffic we're going to select send via the Azure firewall. So that's going to then make sure, so that's going to update the route tables and all that jazz and stuff there. So I'm going to let this kind of catch up to itself here. Okay, so now that that's completed, this is on grayed out. We can click on that now. And security configuration. And we should see internet traffic, Azure firewall. And then under private, we want to send via the Azure firewall. We're going to click save on that. Now it's going to give you a warning. So please note that securing internet traffic will cause the vWAN hub to advertise the default route to the internet with next hop as Azure firewall. This will disrupt internet connectivity for all hub connections and must be done during a maintenance hour. So basically, this will drop traffic, especially if you're, say already going out through just Azure's internet, default route or some other type of security appliance, whether it be on-prem or in the cloud. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK on this. And this is going to update our route tables. And anything that's using those will then start to forward out through the Azure firewall. So now that we got that set up, we're going to go ahead and test out being able to get out to the internet from our dev VM. So I have it actually set. So I do have an outside IP address here, which actually should stop working once, because the Azure firewall should take precedence over how it's routing traffic. So it should get its outside IP address changed to the firewall's outside IP address. So let's see here. And as you can see, it's using the default routing table here, connection type virtual network, and let's see if we can actually sometimes. Oh yeah, so since I have that policy also, that destination NAT rule, I can use the outside IP address to remote into the virtual machine. If it's, so now if I go dev VM, so there we go. And now I should be able to go in, and I don't think I have a browser. Let's see. No Edge browser. So this is what I'm going to do, just to try to show you how that's actually done, or how it kind of, to make sure it even is, going out through the internet. We can, let's turn this advanced administration off. Open up Internet Explorer. Go to google.com. And it's going to put it, what is my IP? And if I go down, what is it? So it looks like it's still routing out through that. It might need to take a second to update here. And then you can see, so we can also do a, let's see where this is still applying. This still looks like it's still applying here. Okay, so secure by Azure Firewall, connection type virtual network. So let's take a look now. We can actually go back into the Firewall Manager, and we can add some additional rules if we wanted. So we want to go to Azure Firewall Policies. Let's go Policy 01. The parent policy, and we should be able to rule collections. So we got our default network rule collection, default DNAT. We're going to add, this is going to be an application. It's going to say allow Google only. We're going to do application, we're going to do 150 on that. And it's going to do allow Google source. It's going to be any protocol, HTTP, HTTPS, and it's going to be anything.google.com. So now that we got that in, we should be able to test that. Sometimes these take a little bit to propagate. So let's, and I wonder if we can do a refresh on this if we get the new. So it's still, let's do this. Let's take the, I really don't want that on there. So let me take the, just to make sure that's working correctly. So we're going to go to my hub, or actually my dev, and my public IP. Let me just put that off of there. And then where's the network interface for this? Right here. All right, so I should be able to remove that. Now it should take it off of the console, but then I should get my traffic routed through the Azure Firewall and show it as my outside. Now there are kind of rules in terms of precedents that kind of apply when you're adding NAT gateways, firewalls, public IP addresses. There's some documentation out there that kind of talks about the precedence levels that kind of come into play with how routing kind of works with everything. Failure is still out to respond. Oh, so I'm going to need to detach this. So let's go to our main VM. Let's go to networking. So I'm going to have to actually probably shut this down to detach it. So let me pause and come right back here. Okay, it looks like I was able to disassociate it with that particular VM there. So once this disassociates itself, we then should no longer have that attached here. So that's gone. So open up Internet Explorer again and go to google.com. So now I'm not getting any, so now it's not actually even going out. So let's see what the problem is there. So another refresh. Oh, there we go. Might have just needed a second to get some packets sent across. So what is my IP again? So let's just show my IP. So as you can see, it's going through the firewall because we don't have a rule that allows other websites. So if I look at, like, say, CNN.com, it's not going to work. But if I go back to our firewall here, in the manager, go into our policies, rule collections, and then see where it says allow Google only. Now, I did put allow Google only, but you could kind of generalize this to say, like, allow rules, and then have your different allows or whatever. So that was just kind of a thing on my part, but I could do allow CNN. Now this isn't typically how you would probably manage this type of stuff. You would probably have some type of web filter or DNS filter of some sort. Then again, HTTPS or HTTPS, and then anything.cnn.com. Let's save that. And we can probably test and see how fast that updates in real time. So if we go back and try to refresh that. So it's probably still processing. So that just goes to show that there's some little delay that kind of happens there when you do try to add and remove rules. So that's something to take into consideration. Sometimes it could even maybe require closing and opening the browser back up. And you got to think too, this is going to probably, some of these changes kind of have to propagate across the Azure network. So, whether it's routing changes, security rule changes. Some of these things have to kind of, flow across a network just like it would in any type of on-premise network of some sort. So I'm gonna let that update. But basically, that's it in a nutshell. We got secure hubs created. Our virtual networks. So if I go to virtual networks, and as you can see, my virtual networks still only show my spoke networks. My secure hub sits inside the firewall manager. Typically, in the other deployments and videos I had 3 networks. I used one as a hub, and I created peering connections to those. As you'll see here, these peering connections are peering to the hub. And we have gateway transit disabled and stuff like that, but we didn't have to come in and create these. These were all done automatically. As you can see, the names and stuff kind of don't really correlate, but that's all done through the firewall manager now. So the virtual WAN. So as you start to add more networks, you essentially would just go to our main network again, our resource group, our virtual WAN, virtual network connections, and then this is kind of where everything kind of just is managed. So you see we have these, and then you would add, more connections that way. So there's no more having to, peer all these connections to the one virtual network. And again, like we were saying, there are some benefits to kind of going that route. It's more scalable. VPN gateway up to 20 gigabits per second. You can do up to 1,000 site-to-site connections. Obviously, express route, which is also available just in a hub virtual network. And then you get, it's just auto-generated. So, as far as the Azure Firewall, you can get multiple public IP addresses that get auto-generated and things like that. So again, if you have any questions in regards to like the setup, anything in particular to this video, kind of leave me a comment down below. Like and share this video. Any recommendations or improvements, I'll be, glad to kind of help on. But again, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.